Coming up on Tekzilla, change your DNS, speed up your browsing, the search for the ultimate wireless keyboard. Will Smith is back. He's going to bring us better wireless coverage and perhaps the ultimate use for Velcro. So heat up that cheddar cheese and grab a bag of tortilla chips because Tekzilla starts now. This episode of Tekzilla is made possible by GoToMeeting, Netflix. Go to netflix.com/Tekzilla for your free trial membership, and GoDaddy.com. I'm Patrick Norton.
I'm Veronica Belmont.
Welcome to Tekzilla, hands-on reviews of the latest tech and how to make the most out of the gear you've already got.
Whether you're a beginner, tech support for your friends and family, if you've got a question about tech, or how long it took Roger to get his Xbox back from Microsoft after it red-ringed.
Not that he's bitter.
We've got an answer for you.
And if we don't, we'll track down someone who does, or at least is less bitter about their red ring of death.
He's a little bitter. Maybe he should get a PS3.
Oh, we're taping the show.
Bias! Sorry. What can I do?
We're taping the show a little early this week.
Yes.
Actually,
so
we're taking
probably
it a week
shouldn't
earlier.
talk about news.
No, because the news we know now will be old by Monday. Basically, we're taping the show a little early to work around the Memorial Day holiday, but there are a couple things we couldn't resist showing you.
Yes, two of mankind's greatest inventions together at last. If you haven't seen it, the video iPad plus Velcro by Jesse Ronston is awesome. Check it out. We've got a link up to that in the show notes if you want a second viewing.
Yeah, or a third, or in my case, a fourth or a fifth. I thought it hit truly awesome when he mounted it on the wall. I'm off to the giant Velcro section of my local hardware store tonight.
Did you see the video of the iPad in the kitchen cabinets? So they made it like a kitchen PC where they could just like have recipes right up on their cabinet. They totally tore up their entire kitchen to build it. Not entire kitchen, but you know what I mean.
Obviously, we'll have to find a link to that one.
It was pretty awesome. David and Thomas wrote in with a warning for anybody that might be using Vaseline on their battery posts.
I personally have never had this happen, but Thomas has 12 years experience with a major car battery maker dealing with the sharp end of the stick, the consumer side of things, or kind of with the mechanics in the big garages that install batteries. He says Vaseline or any of the sprays that you can spray on your terminals will introduce resistance after some time when it seeps down in between the battery terminal and wire end and is hard to diagnose because no one believes that Vaseline can cause resistance. Even some mechanics, he say, overlook this. If juice can't get out of the terminals, then it can't get into the battery from the alternator. Good to know, Thomas. And David, yes, I will reconsider going back to the wee green and felt red pads under the terminals. David's got a pretty slick hack for batteries involving Vaseline in a different place and copper pennies. We'll talk about that another time. But thanks, guys, for writing in. I've never had the Vaseline seep in and cause resistance.
I thought Vaseline was an excellent lubricant.
Graphics cards! Nothing like needing a gaming upgrade to get the Tekzilla crew all frothed up about a new GPU. Alex K writes in, hey Tekzilla crew, I'm looking to build a new computer for gaming and my big question is graphics. Is it cheaper to buy 2 mid-range cards and run them in SLI or Crossfire or to just buy one high-end card? My budget is just over $200 for the card or cards. Love the show. Thanks, Alex. K in Virginia.
Virginia. Lovely
Alex
state.
K in Virginia. Yes, it is, actually.
All right. Well, Nvidia's SLI or ATI's Crossfire let users leverage the performance of multiple, usually 2, video cards. All too often, you're better off going for one better performing video card over a pair of average performing cards. Running 2 video cards in SLI or Crossfire does not mean twice the performance. That's definitely something you should keep in mind. While 2 high to mid-range cards can perform just as well or even better than a single high-end card, that's not going to be with every game. game. Games that do well with multiple GPUs will benefit from those with SLI and Crossfire. Other games that don't, just kind of don't. You're better off with a single, faster card. Video RAM is another thing to look at. Two 512 megabyte cards do not equal the memory of a single 1 gigabyte video card. The amount of RAM in each will still only be 512 megabytes. That means you won't have the room for super huge texture maps, and pretty much every game out there right now has those. And there are downsides to running multiple video cards. You'll need a bigger power supply, for example, enough room for a second card, a motherboard that supports a max PCI Express bandwidth for all your GPUs, and, of course, enough airflow to cool off all that heat that's going to come from those GPUs.
Those giant power-sucking GPUs.
Lots of fans. I think my last gaming PC had like 6 fans inside of it. 6.
That's just too many fans.
You gotta keep it cool. And finally, of course, you only have that $200. At that price point, you're much better off getting the faster single card. One of ATI's Radeon 4890s, though tough to find, is a great card for a smidge under $200. It doesn't support DirectX 11, though. If you want DX 11, Tom's Hardware says ATI's Radeon HD 5770 is the best deal under $200. If you can scrape up a bit more cash for like $240, a Radeon HD 5830 gets you a performance bump and DirectX 11 support. You might also want to consider a pair of Radeon HD 4850 boards in Crossfire configuration if you can find them for like $110 or so each. So that's going to put you a little bit over your price range, but might be worth it.
Especially since those cards, like sometimes you find them for 110, sometimes they're 130.
Yeah.
At 110, it's kind of a deal. At 130,
do a little price hunting. You might be able to find something for cheaper. Any of those cards will deliver awesome 1900 by 1200 performance. Props to Tom's Hardware for their awesome best graphic cards for the Money series.
They update it every few months, and it's really awesome to kind of watch cards rise and fall.
Yeah, and the technology changes so fast and everything. The prices drop. You never know what's going to be the best for your buck at any certain month, it seems, at this point.
Well, it's like, you want a better card for $200? Wait 6 months.
Exactly.
You want a $300 card for $200? Wait 6 months. You want a $500 card for $200? Wait a year. It's just the way it goes.
Yeah, you can't win.
When we come back, our buddy Will Smith will be joining us. He's got a new website and some fun wireless tips to help you out with your cell phone and improve the Wi-Fi coverage in your house. First, though, we got to thank one of our sponsors.
If you run a business that depends on far-flung colleagues and clients across the country or across the globe, getting enough face-to-face time can be a real issue. Travel is expensive and time is short, so what do? Turn to our sponsor, GoToMeeting. With GoToMeeting, you can turn your PC into a virtual meeting room, work and meet with clients no matter where they're located. With screen sharing, you can demonstrate ideas, concepts, and collaborate in real time with attendees on presentations, documents, and spreadsheets. Plus, with voice and chat tools, you can improve communication and strengthen relationships virtually. Worried about eavesdroppers or hackers? Don't. GoToMeeting meets some of the most stringent security requirements, so you can be confident that your meetings are kept private and free from any prying eyes or ears. And it's so easy to set up. Attendees don't need to sign up for the service to join your meeting, so cut back on the air travel, hotels, and rental cars and try GoToMeeting free for 30 days. Just visit gotomeeting.com/Tekzilla. That's gotomeeting.com/Tekzilla for a free 30-day trial.
Our buddy Will Smith is back. He's got a new gig. He's at a new website. Will, tell us about Tested.com.
So the Tested.com started when I sat down and was thinking about what it was like when I was a kid, technology-wise. And I mean, we lived in a house. We had kind of one TV. We had a little big giant satellite dish. Yeah, well, a house.
You lived in a house in the country if you had a big giant satellite dish.
Way out in the country. Yeah. A couple. We had 2 telephones. Nobody had cellular phones or anything.
Nobody
had
answering machines.
We didn't have a computer.
When we were young, we had to carry around vinyl records.
Yep.
Sorry.
So, but the thing I realized is, like, sometime in the last 15, 20 years, I woke up and we were in the future. Right? And here we are, and kind of nobody really appreciates that. You guys appreciate that, but
I do.
I feel like a lot of people aren't necessarily really appreciative of the fact that I carry an iPhone in my pocket that's essentially my computer 10 years ago.
This is the line you've jumped where you've gone from like young dude to old fart.
I know. Well, I turned 35 last week, so
oh my goodness.
I'm an old dude now.
But yeah, it's like you kids don't appreciate. Imagine what it's going to be be like in 20 years.
I mean, that's the thing is, I can't imagine what it's going to be like in 5 years, much less 20 years. So, I mean, we're looking at the kind of pace of innovation. We're looking at the things that are happening in smartphones and all the different technology and the home theater technology.
It's not just PCs.
It's not just PCs anymore. Not that I think the PC is going anywhere. I think the PC has a long, really healthy future.
You're very giddy. You're very excited.
I'm excited.
What's the core? I mean, because I look at testing and I don't see like looking for the next jetpack of the future. I see hands-on testing. I see how-to.
I mean, it's practical.
Right.
So it's how to do more.
It's
how to buy the good stuff.
You know, it's a little more popular mechanics and popular science.
Well, I mean, that's
There's
the
love
intention.
for both there.
Well, I mean, the thing is, we're focusing on the products that I care about and that you care about and that people are excited about. So the really, I mean, I'm going to say the word, it's aspirational products. It's kind of not a good word, but we're focusing on that stuff, the stuff people are really excited about, and then showing people how to do more with the stuff that they buy and how to get more value out of those purchases.
That's actually part of what, you know, he's actually doing a lot of hands-on video, some of which involves strange uses for common latex or rubber items around the house.
Yes.
I'll let you find that video. It's the first one on the website.
Yes.
But we're talking about a couple of recent articles. How to use an old router to expand your Wi-Fi network, how to find your nearest cell phone tower for fun and profit.
Yeah, so, I mean, really, it's about, you know, everybody has this problem, right? My router's in my garage. It's in a corner of my house. Basically, that means that there's another third of my house that has no coverage. And I know you guys have talked a ton about how to expand your Wi-Fi and all that, so your audience probably knows all about that.
Parabolic reflectors, better antennas, better receiver strength at the far end.
Well, but one of the things we found is that a lot of that stuff doesn't really work for N routers. So if you have a MIMO N router with those 3 antennas, then adding the parabolic reflectors just makes things much, much worse in our practical hands-on testing. Right. So then we showed people how to take an old router, plug it into an Ethernet cable or power line network or something like that, and make a whole new bubble of Wi-Fi in what was previously a dead spot. So all sorts of stuff like that. I mean, it's basically finding joy and love in technology, which I know is a familiar topic to you.
I think it's more like reducing the pain level in technology.
Well, I mean, but the pain level is going down and the joy is going up is the way I like to look at it. So
yeah, okay, I'll go with you on that one. Having recently solved my wireless end problems, I'm gonna lay that one. I'm going to agree with that one.
Okay.
What's going on with the finding your nearest cell tower for fun and profit?
Well, so I mean, part of the thing about finding cell towers is that, you know, it helps when you're looking at houses, looking at places to live, all that kind of stuff. I mean, beyond that, it's not a hugely practical thing.
How do you find I mean, are you basically thinking like, okay, my contract's up, my carrier doesn't work very well where I live. What do you like? Track down the nearest cell towers to see which, in theory, which carrier has the closest cell tower?
As somebody who's lived in AT&T dead spots the last 3 places I've lived, that is increasingly important to me to make sure that the next time I buy a house or next time I move into a new place, I want coverage.
So how do you actually find?
So I mean, there's databases on the internet. You can go, search for your area, and you see the lights, see the little dots on the map exactly where the towers are. So then you can look and say, oh, look, there's a giant hill in between me and the nearest tower, and that's going to cause problems.
So your house right now, isn't it like in between 2 AT&T towers?
My house is in a total coverage zone, and I'm still dead. So I don't know what the problem is. I think it might just be me. Maybe I'm a bubble of AT&T dead spot.
Apparently, I'm a bubble of Verizon dead spot when I moved from my old house to my new house. I moved 6 blocks or 8 blocks, and I went from coverage to no coverage.
It's so brutal. I mean, why? It's just got to drive you crazy.
Did you poll the neighbors too, or you basically going by?
I haven't gotten that far yet, but you know, Google at least is keeping track of all that stuff for us now too. So I mean, maybe one day we'll have a Google dead spot map from all the vans driving around.
That's a really scary thought, actually.
Well,
I kind of like that.
Yeah,
they're gonna have the map overlay, the property line overlay, the tax bracket overlay,
right? The plumber coverage area overlay, the whether you're connected to sewer or to septic tanks overlay,
and then they'll come up with the the social security number overlay, and
that might be too far. I mean, we live in a world where there's very little privacy left, but I think I like my social security number to be in my wallet where it belongs.
Good. Now I know where to find it. What's I'm not even. I didn't steal his identity. I promise. What's the most popular stuff on the site?
So the most popular stuff, we're doing a ton of coverage of MakerBot stuff. So we bought one of the MakerBots. You know, basically it's $1,000 CNC device that spits little globs of plastic. We've been doing a ton of stuff with that. Just kind of, I mean, building it was a 4-day extravaganza.
I should point out this spitting little stuff. Basically, it makes objects. Instead of like CNC milling away stuff, it actually adds up stuff.
It's an additive process, and it basically spits out a little stream of plasticky goop. It's like 220-degree ABS plastic, and what you do is you feed in a 3D model, and you can make it in SketchUp or Blender or any number of free applications. You run it through a script that slices it, and then it does the script basically. It spits it out, and then it lifts up a little bit, and spits out another layer, and lifts it up, and spits another layer, and it goes on and on.
Do you get particularly fine details? Spitting sounds kind of like globby and kind of like...
When you're good at it, you get fine details. So at Maker Faire this weekend, I met the guys who actually built whose machine it is, basically. And they were getting much better detail than I was, but they gave me some good calibration tips. So we're going to go back to the drawing board tomorrow and give it another test print. So far, I printed a ton of little cubes, and then like a whistle and a human hand model, and some goofy stuff. I printed a whistle, really like a coach's whistle.
How big of a thing can you make?
They call it a cupcake CNC because it prints something about the size of a cupcake. So it's 4 inches by 4 inches and about 3 inches high.
I like that. Cupcake CNC.
So, I mean, we'll bring it by sometime and show you how it works if you want.
Any exciting... Well, obviously, this is exciting. What else is coming up on the website?
We posted a ton of Maker Faire coverage this week. All sorts of interesting stuff. We're doing how to build a home server next week.
Cool.
So we're doing a really low power machine, a whole bunch of hard drives, like 6 terabytes of storage or 3 terabytes of storage. We haven't decided exactly yet.
More.
Well, the nice thing is you can always add more.
No. Oh, you want all the storage now.
Start cheap and then go big later. Because the hard drives are only going to get cheaper, right?
This is true.
Yeah, so...
every time I turn it, like 3 terabyte hard drives probably by the end of this year.
All that kind of stuff. We're posting a bunch of phone reviews. We have Kin phones going up next week, incredible, HTC incredible. And, the thing we like to do with testing is spend a little more time with them than maybe some other folks do. So we actually sit down and use it for 2 or 3 weeks and, really hammer at it.
I like that thought. Will you come back with the cupcake?
Sure thing,
The CNC cupcake?
CNC, MakerBot CNC.
MakerBot CNC, the cupcake.
It's like the cupcake's the subtitle for the name of the device.
You come back in a couple weeks to show that off?
Sure thing, dude.
Thanks so much, man.
Always a pleasure.
Ladies and gentlemen, Will Smith, awesome stuff. You want to see more, head over to tested.com. Coming up next, the secrets of OpenDNS and how it might make your browsing experience just a little bit faster. But first, let's take a moment to thank one of our sponsors, Netflix.
Netflix delivers movies directly to your home, saving you time, money, and hassle. And as a Netflix Unlimited member, you get DVDs by mail in about 1 business day. Plus, you can instantly stream thousands of TV episodes and movies right to your PC, Mac, or a Netflix-ready device like the Xbox 360, PS3, and Nintendo Wii console. Watch as many movies as you want. Shipping is free, and there are never any late fees or due dates. Keep the movies as long as you like. DVDs by mail and instantly streamed right to your TV. Get unlimited movies 2 ways for only $8.99 a month. As a new member and a Tekzilla viewer, you can get a free trial membership. Go to www.netflix.com/Tekzilla and sign up now. Be sure to use this URL so they know that we sent you. Looks like it's time for another website we just can't get enough of. A website that we just can't stay away from because it's too useful, too funny, or just too darn irresistible. This week's pick, Awkwardfamilyphotos Com. This one definitely falls into the funny category. We all have horrible family photos from our childhood, or even some that are more recent. On Awkwardfamilyphotos.com, you'll see some of the most hilarious and bizarre photos. Some are clearly staged portraits, while others are serendipitous glimpses into everyday family life. Created by 2 friends, Mike Bender and Doug Chernak, who had some pretty terrible family photos of their own, the site has ballooned into an international sensation, and there's even a coffee table book. From mullets to denim suits to freakishly posed group shots and flying babies, and there are a lot of flying baby pictures out there, you'll find hours of amusement combined with uncomfortable memories of your own family photo albums on awkwardfamilyphotos.com. And thanks to John B. Seals on Google Buzz for the suggestion. Don writes in, Patrick and Veronica, how does using OpenDNS.com work? And is using it more or less secure than not using it? I know that the internet content filtering works well, but I'm concerned about security. Thanks, Don in Painted Post, New York.
That's an awesome name for a town.
Painted Post?
Painted Post.
It reminds me of like old-timey, I don't know,
Tombstone.
like mail couriers going through on horses. I've been playing too much Red Dead.
You have been.
Anyway, let's start by explaining the domain name system, or DNS system. Those are servers that act as the phone book for the internet by translating host names like www.tekzilla.com into the IP address that your browser actually uses to communicate with a server. Because, 74.125.43.104 is a lot harder to remember than google.com. Most of the time, your DNS server is assigned by your ISP, and most folks never really need to think about it. You can, however, change your DNS server on individual machines or at your router, for example. That might make for faster DNS lookup times. We're talking milliseconds here for most folks, so don't get too excited. That said, some DNS servers are ridiculously bad, and moving to a better DNS server can make your browsing experience to betters.
Yes, in a big way, actually. Security, which you asked about, is the other reason folks move to OpenDNS. It autocorrects spelling errors, flags phishing sites and botnets, offers the ability to block or filter unwanted websites, and quite a bit more. It can also block proxy setups or anonymizers. That might be useful if you're a business and don't want the people at the office accessing the Facebooks, or if you have a crafty teenager in the house who you don't want accessing the Facebooks.
Facebooks with all those privacy concerns.
Oh boy. OpenDNS generates revenue in part, by the way, by redirecting your browser to a specific page. It's basically, instead of giving you a 404 because that URL doesn't exist, it dumps you onto some page that they usually pump advertising on. It gives them an opportunity to, well, post advertising. It's not that unusual for a free DNS service, and it's actually pretty common on a lot of ISPs to actually do that. They sort of automatically dump you instead of basically being like 404, page not found, or whatever particular code that it's going to throw up at you.
Is that kind of like domain name squatters? Like when they take a domain name that's similar to a legit domain name and then just post ads all over it?
I don't think it's quite that obnoxious,
different? Okay.
But it's let's just say they're all over on that side of the internet. Personally, it doesn't, it doesn't really bother me.
That douchey side of the internet.
Well, I wouldn't call OpenDNS douchey.
I'm not saying, you're right. Yeah. I'm sorry, OpenDNS. But if you move to Opendns Deluxe, which costs $10 a year for home users, you'll get no advertisements, no douchey advertisements, and a whitelist mode that only allows access to sites you put on the list.
Which could be highly useful if you have a teenager or you're running a small business. I've used OpenDNS on and off for years, off usually when I forget to put it on my router, on when I do. I'm not too concerned about anybody gathering DNS lookup information from my home network, because I'm pretty sure somebody's already using all that information somewhere for something, because they'll either get it from my ISP, or if you just, there's a lot of alternative DNS systems out there. Google Public DNS, Ultra DNS, DIN Guide, quite a few more. If you're mostly interested in performance, you might want to download and run Namebench. It's free. It's hosted on code.google.com/p/namebench. And judging by the results I've gotten on it, it pretty much has no bias towards Google's public DNS.
That's good.
Because invariably, one or two others always end up faster than them.
Yeah.
It pretty much benchmarks a bunch of DNS servers against your current DNS and looks at how they handle different strange activities, and then tells you which DNS service is the fastest. It gives you the min and max lookup time range, information about the service, such as if it does NX domain hijacking, which is the really cool guy way of saying posts advertisements at a page if the URL you typed in doesn't exist. Dude, hope this helps you out, Don. I would experiment with OpenDNS, see if you like it. Try out Namebench, see if there's other ones you like more. Most of the people I know do it because it's faster, or because they're having issues with their current DNS system.
So hope the weather is nice in Painted Post.
Painted Post. You're not going to shoot anything in Painted Post, are you?
Pew, pew.
Red Dead Redemption meets Painted Post. Coming up next, we got a couple more viewer questions for you, but first...
Your website visitors, prospects, and customers are wary of websites and online businesses that aren't what they claim to be, and worry that their personal and financial information might fall into the wrong hands. Turn your visitors' concerns into a competitive advantage with the ironclad protection of a GoDaddy.com secure certificate. Plus, if you use the code TECH12, you'll get $10 off of any order of $40 or more. And be sure to check out revision3.com/GoDaddy for a list of all the amazing GoDaddy deals from Revision 3. Our next question comes from Rex, who wrote in asking us, I was wondering if you could do a segment on how to best post an RSS feed. I'm looking into starting a video podcast, competition, and could really use a good overview of RSS posting tools. I'm using a Mac and I have an extremely low budget. Rex. Hey Rex, well the easiest and freest method for posting RSS feeds, in my opinion at least, is to use FeedBurner. It's my favorite since it'll recognize blog posts with media content like audio or video files and then send those out to iTunes or whatever aggregators people are using to bring in your feed. So as you can see here, we've got it up. Let's do, Sword and Laser for example. That's what I use. I use FeedBurner for Sword and Laser, so I know it'll work. You can even push that little button there that says, I am a podcaster.
I am a podcast.
I am a podcast.
And so are you.
We'll select the RSS feed. It already shows RSS feeds because I use Squarespace and they automatically generate feeds for you. So you don't even need to use FeedBurner.
I say WordPress, a lot of the blogging
WordPress will do that too. Blogger will do it. Almost pretty much every blogging platform I can think of, unless you have like a weird wonky theme, should automatically generate. I mean, that's the whole point of having a blog, is that it's, easily syndicatable, as they say. They're burning the feed. They give us an option to change the feed title if we want. We don't want to, we'll change it to, let's do it to feed industry. Hit next. And then you've got your feed. So you can click on it, and you can see all the feed items within that feed. And what I really like about FeedBurner, as I mentioned, is that it will pull out all your audio files, your media files. We don't have the plugin installed here, so you can't really see what it would normally look like, but it would give you a little player built right into the feed. So it separates that from just regular text posts.
So you don't end up like forcing somebody to download a giant file every time you post to them, unless they subscribe to something like iTunes or a media aggregator of some kind.
Well, yeah, I mean, it'll show up in Google Reader just like any other post, but it'll also pull the media-related posts into the aggregators, so it recognizes it as being the feed for a podcast.
Okay.
So if you have files attached, like video files or audio files, it knows that and knows you're trying to syndicate those out to the aggregators. And so it kind of tells them this is a media post.
So basically, like, really simple syndication is just automatic. Basically, you post a list of links to your site that get pulled down by an RSS reader.
Basically.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why it's really simple.
It just seems too simple. I don't know.
Yeah, and they've got great statistics. I mean, they're owned by Google, so you can get tons of different stats on your feed, where people are coming from, what aggregators they're using, all sorts of different data. So that's why it's my favorite.
Spoofing and telling Google that they're doing.
Yeah, the only thing that drives me crazy is that friend feed actually really pumps up your stats in a way that's probably not accurate.
Grossly inaccurate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I've noticed. I'm like, ooh, that's a little too many people coming from friend feed. I don't think they're all actually listening to the podcast. Well, anyway, our last question comes from Scott in Illinois. Scott writes, I have a Dell Xeno HD Media Center PC that I use for getting my daily tech news fixed, and I'm making do with a wired keyboard and mouse. I'd love to be able to just sit back on my couch, however, and wirelessly navigate the computer. I've tried a basic RF wireless combo, and apparently my couch is about 2 feet out of range. Are there any wireless keyboard mouse combos under $100 that have a longer range than radio frequency, preferably something fairly compact?
I was just going to say, like...
You were wagging my finger like I was reading it wrong.
No, you're reading it fine. You're doing good. No, I was going to say, like, the cheaper wireless keyboard, especially keyboard and mouse combos that are stuffed into the keyboard, the cheaper it gets, the more awful they are. I was going to say that, like, if it's from, like, a tiny little brand you've never heard of and it's, like, $12, chances are that it won't work very well. Once in a while, a good one shows up cheap, but most of the time, cheap wireless keyboards suck.
Yeah, I mean, outside of IR, pretty much all of your RF choices out there are going to be Bluetooth. But Bluetooth has a pretty decent range. I mean, I'm not really sure.
A lot of it depends on the actual
antenna size,
chipset they use, right?
And
a lot of them now, Microsoft has a lot of ones that aren't actually Bluetooth, but they put a little weird wireless dongle that plugs into a USB port.
Yeah. Well, I really like Logitech's Denovo and the Denovo Mini. They have about a 30-foot range. The Mini is super compact and really cute, actually.
Yeah,
I like it.
If you're into thumb typing.
If you're into thumb typing. But he wants something sleek and compact, and that actually fits that perfectly. And I can't imagine your couch is more than 30 feet away from your TV. I mean, maybe you have a giant, super huge house, but that seems pretty reasonable.
That's an awfully big living room.
Seems pretty reasonable. The one downside, it's going to run you a little more than $100. The Denovo is $150, and the Denovo, the compact version, the Mini, is $120. But I've been using the Denovo for a while now, and I love it, and it'll work great with a home theater PC. You can try something with an IR support, but that needs to be like line of sight. That might be an issue if you've got, I don't know, your giant 30-foot living room that has a lot of different pieces of furniture and a coffee table.
If you slouch, if you want to, like,
you sit with your
lean
knees
back,
up.
or if you point it the wrong way.
Yeah.
IR is a little
It's a little iffy, but the Microsoft Remote Keyboard for Microsoft Windows XP Media Center Edition wireless keyboard, it's under $50.
It actually works shockingly well.
That's approximately $10 a word.
And it's fairly compact.
Yeah, it's not too bad. It's a little bit, it's not the fanciest keyboard out there. But I haven't, frankly, tested too many wireless keyboards. I mean, I've had that Denovo Edge for a really long time, and that's the only one I've pretty much had experience with.
I've tested maybe a dozen.
No, well, then you have clearly more experience than I do
well,
in the wireless keyboard testing category.
Well, we play around with a lot of stuff for AC Nation, and I've had a computer in my living room forever.
Yeah.
Well, all I can say is once in a while a really cheap one is good. Most of the cheap ones really suck. The Microsoft Remote Keyboard that you mentioned is actually pretty solid.
Good.
suggestions? Do you have any?
There's actually, speaking of HD Nation, there's an HD Nation episode where I believe you covered some of those wireless keyboard options. They're mostly over $100.
Yes. There are a lot of really expensive.
Good.
Well, we're actually we're kind of pulling together a whole new collection of them for another roundup.
Oh, good. Okay.
Heron's search for the perfect keyboard for his home theater PC continues.
Well, we'll include that link in the show notes so you can go back to that older episode and check it out if you want to. But as he says, he's coming out with a more updated clip any day now? Any month now?
Any later on in the month. If you have any suggestions, do us a favor, email us Tekzilla@revision3.com or HDNation@revision3.com, because the search for better wireless keyboards is endless.
Who wants wires when you don't have to?
I know. It's just like I've had so many wireless keyboard fails over the years.
Yeah. Batteries dying, or line of sight issues, or crappy
several hundred people with Bluetooth in the audience overwhelming your keyboard in a demo.
Looking at you, Google I/O.
Hey, it happens. It happens. Summer movie season is in full swing, or at least it's about to swing full. But if you can't make it to the theaters, get the most out of your home theater by watching HD Nation. I work on that show, by the way. We got the latest in home theater and HD quality gear, and the best looking stuff to watch in full high def. You can find it every Tuesday at revision3.com/HDNation. And for everybody out there watching, we live on your questions here at Tekzilla, so email us, Tekzilla@revision3.com. TechL product reviews, how-tos, you ask us, we'll do it, but we need your emails. You are the heart of this show. You are the Tekzilla crew, so don't be shy. Send them into Tekzilla@revision3.com.
Or even better, send us in a video question. Think of all the fun you can have and the admiration of all your friends and family when they see your mug on our show. Just keep it to 15 seconds, upload it to YouTube, and send us a link in an email with video question in the subject line. And as always, you can visit our forums at revision3.com/forum. Share your thoughts, ideas, or comments with other fans of the show. Thank you guys so much for watching.
I'm Patrick Norton.
I'm Veronica Belmont.
Till next time, you've been watching Tekzilla. Green and green and red felt pads. That's a really hard thing to say. Can I turn to 2?
3 and 3. 3 and 3. Making up things.
It's all fun and games till the sword, laser, and lube joke starts.
Yeah. We got speed. I'm wondering if you could do a segment on how to get the best post of an R feed poop. 3, 2. I just kept going.
I know, that's what made it so funny.